Hello everyone, welcome back to the 27th episode of the 2026 Portfolio Challenge series. Reminder, we started each portfolio with $100,000. Now not much has changed since last week, so let's just get right into this. Disclaimer, this video is not financial advice. In today's itinerary, we're just going to go over some of the portfolio changes. Actually, we're not going to go over that really. All that happened is my Robinhood covered call. Robinhood did not close over 116, so I pushed it out to 118 this week, and I got another 200 per 100 shares on that. And then my GME poor man's covered call in my meme stock portfolio. So I just bought another 2 of those using the premium from this week. Some of the watch listed macro news. So the war restarted, and I'm not going to say too much about that because I'm not a geopolitical expert. Apple is suing OpenAI. Microsoft is, I believe, the only Mag 7 now that's lagging. RIVN has exceeded expectations and they've raised future guidance. GameStop's proposal passed, and there's quite a bit to talk about that. TSM has upcoming earnings, which is Taiwan Semiconductors. And then SK-Hynix joined the NASDAQ, and it's technically a US IPO, even though this has been a publicly traded stock in Korea for a long time. And I'm not going to talk about the portfolios at the end too much because there's no change, so I'll just show them really quickly, but there's not too much there. So the war restarted after elimination from the World Cup. Oh yeah, this was funny. I just noticed that. So the US and Iran restarted their war the day after the US got eliminated, which was actually kind of funny. And now Iran did start it by shooting down a ship. And I'm not entirely sure if the US has already blockaded or not, but there have been attacks by the Gulf Coast states there back to Iran. Now, I'm not sure how long this is going to go. Poly market isn't helping much, and the oil isn't reacting too bad. And I did want to show that. Yeah, so here was when the US and Iran war started up again a few days ago, and you can see it's already come back down. So I think the markets aren't super fazed by this. We might see, local gas prices rise, but not too much other than that. And I do expect a pretty quick resolution here because they've already gotten to talking and stuff. But we'll see what happens. Now, Apple is suing OpenAI. So Apple apparently, I'm just reading this right now, Apple is suing OpenAI for stealing trade secrets. So from my understanding, what happened is that OpenAI was poaching, I believe the main lawsuit is about 2 people, and I'm not going to list their names because I don't want anything defamation here, but basically OpenAI was poaching them, and they were also showing them how to get the lab, you could call it secrets, but the hardware and lab stuff away from the lab and back to OpenAI. So I think maybe OpenAI is planning to do hardware in the future. And Apple apparently knew this was happening, and apparently they just have a bunch of videos and evidence against these 2 people. So we'll see what happens, but I'm pretty sure Apple's going to win this one. So we'll see how that affects everything. And that brings us to Microsoft. Microsoft, by the numbers, their price target is 510, which is a 32% upside from the current price of 385. This is my price target, by the way. I'm actually not entirely sure what Wall Street has them at anyways. Okay, Wall Street's price estimate is 560. So Wall Street's even higher than I am on them. So why is this relevant to the previous one? Because OpenAI, Microsoft has a 27% stake in OpenAI. Now, OpenAI is set to be a roughly $1 trillion IPO soon. So that's $270 billion out of Microsoft's 2.86. So that's a 10%. And if OpenAI gets hit pretty badly, that can come and affect Microsoft, even though they are incredibly undervalued based on their own performance. Now, I do hold Microsoft, but it's not a huge part of my portfolio. And I can just show you how much it is, actually. Here's the main portfolio. And you can see here, I do not own a lot of it at all compared to everything else. This is a $146,000 portfolio. I own nothing, almost nothing of it in Microsoft. And why? Mostly because they're not growing revenue super fast. So they are growing revenue decently quickly. We can see that here. And I like to go quarterly. But it hasn't crossed 20% in years, right? And I like 20% increase, and it's not like their operating margin is increasing much at all either. I mean, it's not dropping, but it's not increasing. So, I mean, they are growing at a decent rate, but their forward PE is 21. The numbers on my end are very pro them, but I mean, right now, when I'm just thinking out loud, I'm not going to add much more from Microsoft into them until I see their next earnings. Where are their next earnings, by the way? Yeah, so their next earnings are in end of July. I think there's just better deals and values out there right now. RIVN. I do not have a price target for RIVN. And I'm talking about them because they recently came up with updated estimates for car sales. The current price is 17.5. They were, I believe, even above 20 this week. Yeah, RIVN hit above 20 on Tuesday. And just yesterday they were at 1810 and they started the day at 1850. So they are still hovering between the 12 and 20 range, which is what I've been saying is going to happen for a while. Now, they did recently, like I said, come out with updated estimates for car sales at 62,000. Well, it was at 62,000 for the year, and they've updated it to around 70K. And I expect it'll be even more than that. They raised some... Oh, also this actually kind of annoyed me. So they sold out another 75 million shares. Now, they don't have a ton of shares out, if I remember correctly. Shares out, shares outstanding. Yeah, so this is... All of this is in millions, of course. So another 75, so that's going to be 1,300 now. And they did that. So what annoyed me wasn't that they did that. That's just common dilution, which is fine for a company that's not profitable still, which is why I don't have a price target. They do need their cash somehow. Their balance sheet, they've got 2.8 billion and they're burning through it. So they do need to pick up cash, and 75 million times 15.5, which is the price. Oh, it's just 1.1 billion. So add another 1.1 billion, given the current runaway, we'll see. Oh, this is the, yeah, 4.8 billion there. And they've got negative right here. So this might turn positive this quarter, but regardless, they need cash. They need more runway. And with the R2, and they're selling basically every unit that they can make is being sold. There's significantly more supply, or there's significantly more demand than supply. And I'm unsure what the profit margins are on too. And that's mainly why I'm very curious on their next quarter's earnings, which is in 2-3 weeks. Yeah, July 30th. So I'm mainly curious just to try and reverse engineer the profit margins on the R2, but they are selling them as fast as they make them. And so what bothered me, by the way, was that they did it at 1550 and not at the money. And personally, when I see this, if the stock's at almost 20, why are you going and selling at 15.5? I don't know. I don't see it. I think at the money offerings are the best. And at the money basically just means that you release it slowly over days, weeks, or even months. And it's just at the current price whenever you release it. And so it becomes part of the daily volume. So GameStop, their proposal passed. The big thing out of the proposal, there were a few things there, but the big news was that GameStop now has the ability to issue up to 2.5 billion shares total. Now, just to put that into perspective, GameStop has under 500 million shares out right now. This is 450 million shares out. And they just approved to dilute up to 2.5 billion total shares. And this is all with the purpose to go to the eBay purchase that they've been talking about for a while. And this is a table that I used ChatGPT to create. The table includes the $20 billion financing loan that they've already said that they're going to have. And so this is how many shares they're going to need to dilute to in order to go and buy eBay. So, you know, when they dilute their shares, when they put out more shares, they basically raise the cash. So the idea being that as you have more shares at the current price and you have more cash, then they should rise together, and then you can reach the 55 billion or whatever they need to buy eBay. And with a $20 billion financing loan, that's only 35 billion. And GameStop is under 10 billion right now. So this is how much they're going to need. So this is including dilution, by the way. So this is the average GME issuance price. So at $15, if it's the average, which is very reasonable with the amount of dilution that would happen at 2.5 billion, unless Roaring Kitty comes back or something and spikes it up, the amount of shares needed would be another 1.8 billion for a total of 2.25. So the 2.5 billion is reasonable. If they can get through the whole thing and the stock's still above 15, that would be amazing. And this is where the at the money offerings would come in. So every run up basically above 24, 25, or even 30, if it happens, if there's good news or things come out, I expect that they're going to be pushing out shares as fast as they can. And so if there is a run up, fully expect dilution in the next probably year or even year and a half. So that, well, if you're going to use GameStop to trade, just take that into account. And if Roaring Kitty comes back and it jumps up to 80, and there's a huge wave of new investors and stuff, they could probably get most of the shares out pretty quickly. And I did not do this earlier, so I am curious. When they had their huge run up, this was, no, this one. Yeah, so this is when Roaring Kitty came back in 2024. I just wanted to see how many shares were traded during the days where he was posting. So this is 187 and 200 million shares. And you can see that up here. So 200 million, and the most was 279 million. So with dilution added into that, that's more than reasonable that they could probably push out on days like this 50 to 100 million, and it will cap the price. But GameStop is looking at the long term, so I would not blame them for that. So TSMC, their upcoming earnings, the stock ticker is just TSM, even though the company is TSMC. My target price is 660. The current price is 434, which is a decent upside. That's like 30-something%. This time around, I do really just want to see the revenues growing. They have been growing it at above 20%, but I just want to make sure. Now, this is the currently only non-American stock that I own. So it's under a bigger lens than most of my other stocks, and it does have a pretty high forward PE, but I'm not just looking at that. I'm looking at the whole deal and package, and this is all in Taiwanese dollars. Is it dollars? I think it is. It is in Taiwanese currency, but you can see here that they've been growing at 30% for the past few years. So really, I just want to see, 20 to 30%. If they can keep that up, I'll keep them. If not, I'll just move to something else. And that something else is probably, regardless, going to be SK-Hynix, which now joined the NASDAQ. So SK-Hynix is a South Korean company owned by the parent company, I forget their name, but they also own SK Telecom, if you're a League of Legends fan. So SK Hynix is a memory producer that is one of Micron's biggest rivals. And so they produce high memory bandwidth memory chips. And basically, they're like Micron a few months ago in terms of where they're positioned and how much revenue they're bringing in compared to their price and their future growth. So I was watching, I believe it was on maybe CNBC, maybe it was Fox. I forget exactly which one, but they were talking there to the CEO of SK Hynix. And this, I believe, was his first English interview publicly, which was pretty cool. But basically, he was saying for what they can create, they have demand until 2030, and it's not going to be slowing down until then. So he's basically got contracts lined up every single year until 2030. And that probably includes a lot of growth. And they're even building out a US factory, which should start, I believe it's going to start building in 2028. So it is definitely intriguing. It's got a very low forward PE. And, my price target is 700. I believe I'm significantly more bullish than Wall Street is on this. The current price target. So this is their Korean one, but it's basically the same values. And even when you go to the financials, it's the same financials. Yeah, so they're expecting a 45% upside. I'm expecting a 300% upside. We'll see who's right, but this is just reminding me of Micron a few months ago, and I can't pass this up. This growth is amazing, and it's not slowing down at all. Their estimates, check this out. This is from the Korean one. This is what they did the past year, in the past fiscal year, which was the previous quarter. They're going to almost quadruple that this upcoming year. Like this year, they're going to quadruple that. And sure, they did have a run up from 500K to 2 million, but I mean, I think it has another 2-3x in it. So it's definitely going in my deep value portfolio, and more than likely it's going to go in my main portfolio. And now that it's in the NASDAQ, I feel less bad about buying a non-American company because it is very good and they are the leaders in the world. And I believe they are NVIDIA's main partner, but they are the leaders in high memory bandwidth. That technology. By the way, one of the things that really bothered me with this, I should mention, it is SKHYV, but by the time you'll see this, it should be SKHY. So just make sure that if you do want to buy this, not financial advice, if you do want to buy this, that's going to be the price. So one of the things that bothered me is that, not the market cap, the price of 2 million South Korean won. I believe that's the currency won, right? South Korean currency to US. Yeah, South Korean won. So the US to South Korean won is 0.00067. And when you put in this number into here, it's 1454, and that is significantly higher than 168. And it's the same number of shares out, same everything, same PE, same numbers, even their financials are the same. So I'm not entirely sure where the number 168 came from. So when I did my conversions, because again, all their financials is still in Korean won, But when I was doing this, I ended up adjusting based on, so this is basically the 2 million, that's basically the 2 million divided by the 168 right there. So I ended up multiplying everything by that. And so we get 701 right there, and that's 1 year out. And by the end of the year, so that we are in Q2 right now, I have them at 600 roughly. I wouldn't be surprised if it stops at 500 because it is a pretty big run, but I think they're going to go on a pretty decent run. But it will pull some of the semiconductors up, I think, with it. So we can expect a decent bull run for the next 2-3 weeks. And if it drops, even better. I like it at any price, basically, until 400. Yeah, that's just about it. I'll go over my portfolio really quickly. Here's my portfolio. Here you can see it right here. ELF and Meta. Oh, Meta had a decent run up this week, and ELF has been staying up, which I'm pretty happy about. It's been resilient. So this is the main portfolio, the deep value one. Gen, do I need to sell that? No, when it reaches 30, I'm going to sell that. Here's the choice value. And the meme stock, yeah, that's irrelevant. So, yeah, thank you guys for listening. Good luck this week. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.